what they call me. Promise that you never be alone.
What up, though? I am Fontaine the Titan, coming back at you with some hardcore information, groundbreaking information, some information that's going to take us to a really high level here. So, before we get started, I want to say peace to the fam, and if you have not done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. So, there was a question. Somebody asked me, they said, what the fuck is a holographic universe? And I said, well, let's start getting into what this holographic universe is. But before we get into the holographic universe all the way, we got to give some insight. Rewind it all the way back so we can get a full understanding before we dive all the way into this, all right? So, of course, we got what people consider the physical reality. Taste, touch, sound, smell, hearing, so forth. We born into this reality, and all we know is our physical senses. All we really have an idea about is what we can do out here in this physical world based on the laws of physics, right? So physically, we've been told a story. The story we've been told that's been propagated out here by the government, the media, the education system, the masses, however you want to cut it down, it's the same story that we all been told. And of course, even if you go to school now, you will see a globe in every classroom. You will get told about the Big Bang Theory and how the Big Bang Theory leads into Darwin's theory of evolution, which leads into Newton's theory of gravity, which leads to Einstein's theory of relativity. And here we are now with all of that information, and we are told that everything is physical. But it gets a little bit deeper than that, because when you start looking, you will start finding holes in the whole heliocentric model of what they're telling us this reality is, right? So, in the heliocentric model, let me break this down for you. First of all, if you have no idea, you might be thinking that the whole time that we thought this was a globe, but actually they just came out with this concept about 500 years ago. And I'm not going to get into all of the people who brought it forth and all of that. That's for a whole nother video. Just understand that's where we are with it right now. So right now you also have the opposition of what they call the flat earthers, or the people, the flat earth people, right? So I'm not in here to debate flat earth or globe earth at this time. I just want to give y'all a roundabout understanding of the physical aspect. Because if you go and research the flat earth and you go look into it, you will start seeing all of the holes that they got into the heliocentric model. So, they'll tell you on the globe earth side of the game, look at NASA, look at the pictures, we've been to the moon, look at all the stuff that they said that they did. But it's a lot of holes in the things that they present as facts. One of the things that you could do for yourself, just Google pictures of the earth, and they'll show you pictures of the earth, but all of the earths look different. How can all of the earths look different when we're supposed to only be here, one earth, right? Where are they getting earth that Africa this big on one and then it's this big on the other one, and the ocean is one color on this one and there's another color on that one? And even NASA will tell you that they use CGI to enhance the photos, and that the data, they don't take actual pictures, they receive data back, and they use the data to be able to construct a CGI photo of the earth. That's not a real picture. So technically there are no real pictures of the earth. And even the pictures that you got from the moon back in the day, those are fugazi, even based on what they are saying now. You got a guy by the name of Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? If y'all probably didn't heard of him, he's an astrophysicist, and black guy too. That's what surprised me. I'm like, this is a black guy out here? But now that I understand a little bit more, I see why it'd be a black guy out here saying this stuff. But to take it a bit further, you got this guy Neil deGrasse Tyson to say, no, the earth is not even round. This is more of a pear shape. It's a little bit skinnier at the top and it's rounder at the bottom. But I ain't seen no pictures of them showing that either. So what does the earth really look like? And that's the problem that comes about. And then you got the flat earth people, they'll tell you flat out, like, look, this been flat for thousands of years since its existence. It only became considered a globe until they got control over the concept of warping our minds to saying that it's a globe. So when you look at the flat earth model, right, there is no actual model though. That's the problem with the flat earth. People say, well, if the earth is flat, why is this, why is that? It ain't even about necessarily why this or why that. Is, can y'all prove it being a globe? But we still talking about on a physical sense. So what the holographic universe is, it takes it past the physical sense. The ramifications of what they have going on when they got people arguing about whether it's flat or round is way, way deeper. Because if they got us thinking that we came from nothing, out of a big bang, evolved from monkeys, and that we technically have no spiritual existence, then all we have left is to be what? A great human? The best human that we can be? Or where does the morality set in? So we just have to be moral humans? What is their real goal? I think one of their real goals is basically to keep us in not only a physical but a mental prison. And you mentally enslave somebody by telling them that they have no other place to go. You know? So if they tell us that the globe is around Earth, we have no other place to go, and we have to abide by their rules, and if we accept that, then that's what it is. And even if it's flat, they still control everything else that we do. They still control the airplanes and the traffic, and we need passports to travel, so it's not like we still going anywhere. So the argument on flat Earth around Earth has an end point. So what happens after that? What happens after the physical? So we about to get into some concepts that's going to take this further to give you a higher understanding. And if you want to know some more about flat Earth, it's a video book by a guy named Eric Dubay. It's called 200 Reasons the Earth is Not a Spinning Ball, something like that. It'll blow your mind. It'll really change the game of what you really think about what they're saying about the whole globe Earth and how the universe really works. So all of this stuff that they are actually coming about, flat Earth, still technically a theory. Not trying to dog out the flat Earth people, but it's the same thing with the globe Earth, which I don't even call that a theory no more. I just call that a whole bunch of controlled opposition to keep people from researching what the real thing is. So once you get into the flat Earth thing, let's take this a step further, because we know that there's a physical side of the game. We also know that there's a spiritual side of the game. There's a metaphysical side of the game. There's an occult side of the game. And so why would they not ever include anything that has to do with metaphysics? Why would they not have anything to do with spirituality? Because modern science doesn't want spirituality involved. They don't want the occult involved. They don't want anything involved that they can't explain on their terms. If they could explain it on their terms and be able to still control it, then they definitely would. But that's the one thing that they cannot control, is the unseen side of the game, the spiritual side of the game. They got a whole concept built on everybody wrapping their mind around everything is physical. So it don't matter whether the earth is flat or round when you are the people who are have the controlled opposition set in place, because as long as you're arguing about whether it's flat or round, you will never get into the holographic universe, stuff like this. And the holographic universe, in their eyes, is still technically a theory. And the reason why it's technically a theory is because it goes past where they say it goes. It goes into the spiritual side of the game. It goes into the occult side of the game. And that's stuff that they don't want to admit is a real existence. But the holographic universe is the only theory that I've seen thus far that's able to explain everything that we would call psychic phenomena, paranormal, spiritual. It doesn't necessarily give you the complete ABC, but it gives you the explanation of it in the context of everything built off of a holographic principle, okay? So, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. And interestingly enough, one of the first things that it says in here is about the author. Michael Talbot never knew of his book's destiny as a classic in the field of science and spirituality. Just 38 years old, he died of chronic lymphocytic leukemia in May 1992, a year after the Holographic Universe was published, well before he'd finished his life's work. And what I say to that is, if he still had more life work after this, then woo, I'd like to see what he was going to come with. Unfortunately, whether you're going to call it a conspiracy or whatever, he died. So, we got to roll with this for right now. But there are also other books that explain the holographic universe as well. This book right here, though, is a very, very, very thorough explanation of a lot of things. And I'm going to hit you with the table of contents right here, okay? Because they got it broken down into 3 parts, right? So the first part of the book is called A Remarkable New View of Reality. And it basically goes through, it breaks down how the brain works as a hologram. And it breaks down how the cosmos also works as a hologram. And so what people don't do is people don't do real research on the science side of the game. So me personally, the way that I end up taking steps further in my spirituality is I got to be able to understand stuff logically. If I don't understand it logically, and if I can't put it together in an intellectual type of way, I kind of throw it away, So what this book does, it kind of bridges the gap of where I'm at on the physical level to the spiritual side of the game to get me to understand the unseen side, the spiritual side, the occult side that we've been told all our lives not to deal with. And one of the things that it discusses and it explains with a whole heap of examples about how the brain works. And one of the cool parts that it shows about how the brain works, it tells you about how memory is not local in the brain. So people got the concept that like you could take out a piece of somebody's brain and they'll lose their memory, But what this explains through scientific experiments, real life experiments that they've been doing for years, it breaks down how the brain observes everything the same way a hologram works. And it breaks down how a hologram works and how the one piece of a hologram still contains the entire essence of the whole image. So as above, so below, as within, so without. So you understand the law of correspondence, then you can apply that to understand that even as us as a so-called human body, we still are as much the cosmos as the cosmos are within us, and little stuff will give you the indication that as above, so below. As I said, the Sirius star constellation, Orion's belt, is lined directly above the pyramids of Giza to the 0.00001 degree. Modern science can't even figure out how they did it. But also to go on top of that, your pineal gland, hypothalamus gland, and pituitary in your gland also lines up in the same coordinated places as the pyramids of Giza and the star constellation. And so what you understand is, going to the laws of Tahuti, the law of cause and effect, would let you know that that's not by chance. That's not by luck. It's not by happenstance. Everything is set up for a specific reason through the laws of cause and effect. And so going back to the law of mentalism, you know that everything is a mental construct. So if that's built in the way inside of our head, then definitely, and it's built in the physical world of what we call physical in 3D, then it's built the same way in the cosmos, then there's something more to it that ties everything together, right? And that's what they go into in the second part also of the mind and the body, and understanding the different metaphysical aspects of it as well. They got part 3, space and time, and it's basically explaining a whole bunch of stuff that we go get into. But I'm not gonna read this, sit up here and act like it's story time with Dr. Seuss and read you out the whole book or whatever, because obviously this is a whole heap of information that you wouldn't be able to get through in one sitting down. But what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of key points in here that's going to really broaden and open up your thought process to get you to understand maybe why they don't put this type of information in schools, why this information stays hidden, why this information is not out to the public, because if the public knew all of this information and they're able to comprehend this information, the so-called powers that be that's giving out this information on what they're portraying the reality would be, they would lose their grip on what we have constructed, on what the real construction of what we have going on mentally. Right? So let me take you to this cool part of the book, right? Right. So give you a little background on what this excerpt is about in the book. What they're going as they're talking about the wave particle duality. So if you go and do your research on the wave particle duality, you will understand that everything is built in waves and particles at the same time. All right. So with them both being wave, with everything built from electrons and photons, everything is light, everything is electrons, and that's the whole existence. They can't even have a periodic table without electrons. So the goal of what they're trying to tell you, they're telling you in science books and all of that that you learn in school, that everything is solid. But based on the experiment, the live experiment on the wave particle duality, we see that everything is built up in waves and particles. But to take it a step further, it becomes only a particle when it is observed, when there is consciousness put on it. So when an electron is observed, it now becomes a particle. When nobody is looking at it, it's a wave, right? Wave formation, right? Particle means that it's solid. So what we're getting into now is the idea of, okay, you get two twin particles together, right? This getting a little bit sciencey, right? But on the aspect of being able, they call it quantum entanglement. And you can learn a little bit more about quantum entanglement and a whole heap of other stuff. And I got this little book right here. It's called 30-Second Quantum Theory, all right? Might have seen this book before in one of my previous videos or whatever. But breaking down quantum entanglement is saying that two electrons can have the same phenomena at the exact same time, moving faster than the speed of light, right? So it goes on to say here, it say the problem is that according to Einstein, and you know they put Einstein on the highest pedestal. They look at him as he's the genius of all geniuses based on the construct of the ideology that they want to put out here. They got the whole theory of relativity down, and that's what they want people to have an understanding of. But let's go ahead and take this. It says, the problem is that according to Einstein's special theory of relativity, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, let alone travel instantaneously, for that would be tantamount to breaking the time barrier and would open the door on all kinds of unacceptable paradoxes. This is why Einstein's saying that the holographic universe can't work. Because he's saying that basically it's going to destroy everything he got. He's saying Einstein and his colleagues were convinced that no reasonable definition of reality would permit such faster than light interconnections to exist, and therefore Bohr had to be wrong. And Bohr is one of the scientists that was doing the research and the experimentation to present the whole holographic universe idea. It's him and a few other ones, and of course there's a whole heap of other scientists, psychologists, and all of that who technically ain't had nothing to do with proving the holographic universe, but they research proved it. So even though that wasn't even their field to say I'm gonna prove the holographic universe, they research on dreams, and like Carl Jung did. You will read about him in here, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff that a whole heap of other scientists did. Their experiments together proves the holographic universe. It's just not one theory or one incident that's involved that says this is what it is. So Einstein says Bohr had to be wrong. Their argument is now known as the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox, or the EPR paradox for short. It goes on to say Bohr remained unperturbed by Einstein's argument. Rather than believing that some kind of faster than light communication was taking place, he offered another explanation. If subatomic particles do not exist until they are observed, then one could no longer think of them as independent things. So now we're about to get somewhere. It says, thus Einstein was basing his argument on an error when he viewed twin particles as separate. They were part of an indivisible system, and it was meaningless to think of them otherwise. So what happens is that what Bohr is describing is what they call now the quantum field, right? So the quantum field is nothing more than modern science's version of what we will call the Akasha, or what Nikola Tesla called the ether, right? So if you then did your research and understanding the true 5 elements, which are earth, air, water, fire, and the 5th element, which is ether, or the spirit, or the Akasha, right? So see, now we getting somewhere. Now we getting it to a level that modern science can't take it to. Modern science do not want it. They'll admit earth, air, water, and fire on the physical sense, but spiritually those have a totally different concept, a totally different meaning. And then they throw away the whole concept of even being an ether in the first place, or a spiritual aspect of the game in the first place. So if you ever been the type of person to have a dream, do some astral traveling, and have an understanding of that concept, if you ever talk to some of your dead relatives in your dream, then you have an understanding that there is a spiritual side of the game, a side of the game that goes beyond what we would call physical. So what they try to do in modern science is they try to throw all of that stuff away and just say people are crazy. Then this book go through a whole bunch of dope stuff. It tell you about how multiple personalities, how that is involved in the holographic universe, and what that the effects of multiple personalities are, telekinesis, telepathy, mental telepathy. And I'm not gonna go through every single example because this is too much for you to be able to take in at one time without doing your own research. But it breaks down basically every single aspect of the things that you may or may not know about already. Let's get into right here, right? I found this. I think this is really, really important, because what we got to understand is there is unseen side, and there is a seen side and an unseen side, right? The hidden and the unhidden, the Akasha, or what they call the quantum field, and the physical reality that we are in. But what we got to understand is that it all flows in together. It's not separate the way that, even in the ideology of the way we think physically, that we are separate from the spiritual aspect, and that's something that's technically outside of us that we can't get into until we die or something like that. What we got to understand is everything is flowing, everything is all connected. It reveals itself and unreveals itself in different moments. And if you got your third eye open, then you'll be able to gather in that energy and be able to quantify some of these experiences and phenomena that goes on around. But it says one of Baum's most startling assertions is that the tangible reality of our everyday lives is really kind of an illusion, like a holographic image, right? And that's really, really powerful, because you hear a lot of people out here saying this is the Matrix, this whole thing is an illusion. But they saying that, but don't really understand the intellectual side of how it works to get to the spiritual side. It's just easy to say things is an illusion and keep it moving to have a higher understanding. You get a higher understanding and you're able to apply your spirituality into deeper aspects of what you're trying to do, you know. But it goes on to say, underlying it is a deeper order of existence, a vast and more primary level of reality that gives birth to all the objects and appearances of our physical world, in much the same way that a piece of holographic film gives birth to a hologram. So what you got to understand is they break down how a hologram works, how your brain works as a hologram, how the universe works as a hologram, and now they're basically just telling you right here that everything is enfolded. That's what he's going to go to him. He said Baum calls this deeper level of reality the implicate, which means enfolded or order, and he refers to our own level of existence as the explicate or unfolded order. He uses these terms because he sees the manifestation of all forms in the universe as the result of countless enfoldings and unfoldings between these two orders. And basically what they're saying is the spiritual side of the game and the physical side of the game is always intertwining, right? And they give you so many examples of how it actually works together, right? But let's take this a little bit further, right? So we're talking about the quantum field here. We're talking about the Akasha, right? So let me see what I got here, right? Oh yeah, always got a surprise for you. Boom. Opening the Akashic Records. Okay. This book by Maureen J. St. Germain. And it's a whole bunch of whole heap of books on the Akashic Records. I got to get more of them. As y'all see, I'm slowly building my library, and I'm building it up based on me having questions in my mind. What is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? And then I go get the information, and I take the information that I learned previously, and I apply it to the new information to get a higher understanding, a better understanding, right? So let me take you to this right here, right? We got, and this is what it says about the Akashic Records. And I'm reading this to give you an understanding that it's also, the Akasha is separate from the Akashic Records. It says some people think the Akashic Records are the unified field, but that isn't so. The unified field is the soup we live in. Randolph Steiner, famous Austrian mystic and founder of the Anthropophysical Society and channel to the non-physical worlds, referred to Akasha as plastic matter creative in its physical nature. Thus, the Akashic Records are the data within the field of Akasha. So basically what they're saying is, when you going, because we about to get back into the holographic universe, we're going to go towards the end of this book. Watch this. This is about to be real dope. Y'all gonna love how about tie this all together, right? So you got the Akashic Records. I'm going to read you a couple of little facts that they say about the Akashic Records. They say the Akashic Records are a living field of liquid light. The Akashic Records are the library of all that is and all that may be. It says the Akashic Records are available to all who seek them. The Akashic Records are like a film library that allows instant access. One may view the past along with probable futures. So, getting back into the holographic universe, as I said, this is broke down into 3 parts of this book, right? So the last part is space and time. And they go into a whole heap of detail about how time really doesn't exist and how space really doesn't exist in the way that we all have a construct on what we've been taught, right? So let me give you this little bit of information here. I had it highlighted, lost my page, but it's all good as long as you be patient with me. All right, so I'm gonna skip past the part about time. I'm gonna go into the part about space. It says, time is not the only thing that is illusory in a holographic universe. Space too must be viewed as a product of our mode of perception. This is even more difficult to comprehend than the idea that time is construct, for it comes to trying to conceptualize spacelessness. There are no easy analogies, no images of amable universes or crystallizing futures to fall back on. We are so conditioned to think in terms of space as an absolute that it's hard for us to even to begin to imagine what it would be like to exist in a realm in which space did not exist. Nonetheless, there is evidence that we are ultimately no bound by space than we are by time. One powerful indication that this is so can be found in out-of-body phenomena, experiences in which an individual's consciousness, awareness, appears to detach from itself from the physical body and travel to some other location. Out-of-body experiences, or OBEs, have been reported throughout history by individuals from all walks of life. So that gets really, really deep because my uncle is 80 years old. He's 80 years old and he had surgery. When he had surgery, he had to go under the anesthesia or whatever, so he wouldn't feel the pain, right? So he told me after it was all over with, he said, nephew, I ain't doing that shit no more. I'm like, what? He like, I died and I was outside of my body and I watched them working on me. I'm like, man, you ain't died like that. He like, nah, I was dead and I watched them working on me. I was standing outside my body in the operating room watching them do work on me. And I ain't going under no more. I said, you know what, I ain't mad at you if you don't. I feel you because that got to be some way mind-blowing type of experience. This dude 80 years old. You know what I'm saying? He don't know nothing about no outer bodies experience. He ain't never had none in his life. All of a sudden, he 80 years old and he outside of his body watching himself get worked on. You know, that lets you know off the tops that there is something else beyond the physical side of the game. That lets you know off the tops that our mental constructs still go beyond what these physical bodies really are. So when you start looking at it from the sense of we thinking everything is physical, we know that things go beyond that, even based on our dreams. Our dreams, you got people out here, they call and say, oh, I had a dream this was going to happen. It was deja vu. You got people out here who will say that, you know, that they've had communications with spirits and their relatives and all types of other stuff. Who are you to tell them that it's false? Just because you haven't had the experience for yourself don't mean that other people are not tapping in, because I've tapped in and I'm just going step by step, piece by piece, to let y'all know how intellectually I'm able to piece this together using logic. Because if I told you that I've been talking to dead people, you'll be sitting up there like, man, this dude crazy. Now, I'm thinking I'm crazy for a minute too until I start understanding more what the spiritual side of the game is. So when you start getting into the aspects of what the holographic universe is really doing, is really explaining how all of that works together. You know, you got this book here. Of course, y'all all are familiar with it, or should be at this point, the Kybalion, right? This is really important because the holographic universe and the Kybalion at this point goes hand in hand, because everything that the holographic universe describes and all of its examples and scientific examples, you got to understand everything is based off of the Kybalion, the universal laws of Tahuti, starting with the law of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. So we building everything off of a mental construct that actually is beyond the body of what we think is what the physical is. So if we know that our minds are all the most powerful thing that we have, and it is the everlasting aspect of ourself that connects us to the spiritual and the physical side of the game, then we have to know that what they are doing by only giving us the physical side is they're separating us from our spirituality. And that is the bottom line. If you are separated from your spirituality, you have no choice but to go by the physical laws and the physical attributes of this reality that they give to you. And they're only going to give you so much. So we sit up here and we think that everything is physical. It's not. Everything is spiritual first. Even the things that you think that have some type of value are still spiritual. Even the concept of money, because we go get into that money thing too, and I'm gonna break down how money is an energy, how to tap into higher levels of prosperity to even be able to get that money to follow you a certain type of way, because it's all about abundance, prosperity, and understanding how to tap into these energies. But it's also about getting into the mythologies, because what you're going to understand is, as you get to breaking down this holographic universe, you will see that all of this stuff is based off of mythologies that we really have not been following and doing research on, because they told all of us that that was garbage and that we need to follow Jesus, you know, and we end up following Jesus or following Allah, but we don't understand that it's a cult aspect to even those concepts and understanding what Jesus really mean. And I broke some aspects of that down in the previous video when I broke down Jesus and the Bible in the Easter video, but it goes even beyond that, because even understanding the Bible on a physical level, you have more books out here that it even explains it and goes further, because we go get into the Gnostic Bible, and when I give you that Gnostic Bible, you gonna be like, oh my man, oh shit, it's gonna take you to a whole nother level of a different type of understanding of what the Gnostics used to think about this reality of what's going on. Woo-wee, it's gonna have you in a whole nother mindset. Right now, I gotta take it piece by piece, because at the same time, if you don't know where we are now, how are you going to be able to go back and really understand the previous information? So we got to lay down the foundation. So the foundation is understanding the holographic universe, understanding that there's an unseen side of the game, understanding that there is a side, the spiritual side of the game that they are definitely keeping us away from. And as long as we out here arguing about whether the earth is flat or round, we'll never get into this type of thing, right? I had my homeboy, I'm real proud of him. Hats off to you today. He say, man, look, all the stuff that y'all been teaching me and everything that I learned, and I'm learning to do things for myself. He say, man, I'm giving up my religion, man. I'm cutting out the middleman. I say, good for you. He say, but I'm only taking the baby step. And I let him know. I say, listen, this step that you just took is the biggest step that you could actually really take for right now for anybody, because giving up your religion is one of the hardest things that you can do, you know. But after you learn and research, I'm talking about somebody right here that was literally scared to go to hell on everything, you know what I'm saying? But after life start happening, you start figuring out what really works for you, and you start getting the information surrounded within yourself and building in self and get to knowing thyself and start taking yourself to a higher level, you start to figure out what these religions is really doing for you. And these religions are basically the same thing as the flat earth and the globe earth concept. It is stopping you from your true spirituality, who you are from within yourself, and tapping into the energies and the vibrations that are here for you to be able to make yourself the highest you that you can be, you know. So whatever level that it is that you want, enjoy that level, but raise up to higher levels, because at the end of the day, books like this, the Kybalion, all of this stuff, get you, look, let me get into this. I done brought this book out and folks don't even understand. Look, right. So we got The Science of the Dogon here, right? This book is out of a series of books. It's like 3-4 different books. But what this book does to give you a higher understanding of the history, okay? Taking things back to further levels, further in history, because they have you in modern science thinking that everything that they discovered is all new, brand new, right? Look at a book called The Science of the Dogon, right? And I'm going to just take you to the end. I'm going to take you to this part here, right? And so throughout the whole book, they done gave you all types of examples, but then they give you a little conclusion, a little breakdown. And it says in the previous examples, this study has demonstrated a consistent relationship between symbols and concepts of the Dogon people and modern science. It says these examples show, among other things, that the Dogon myths, that the Dogon myths clearly describe the correct attributes of the unformed universe, that all matter was created by the opening of the universe, that spiraling galaxies of stars were formed when the universe opened, that this same event was responsible for the creation of light and time, the complex relationship between light and time, that matter can behave like a particle and a wave. This is all in the Dogon's history of their mythology on how the world was created. And they got all of this stuff. This stuff is thousands of years old before modern science even had a chance to even get involved and know what was going on. And then when they go back, they go to a group like the Dogons. Dogons like, man, we've been through this. And the stuff that modern science is discovering, they like, oh, okay, well, the Dogons been had all this information, but they not going to let you know that all of this ancient information already existed that they are so-called discovering now. You see what I'm saying? This gets really, really deep when you start understanding the history. And so now, when you start building your knowledge up, you got to understand what modern science is not telling you now, which is the holographic universe, stuff like this. And then also stuff like this to let you know that even the stuff that they're telling you in modern science was already known as fact thousands and thousands of years ago. So what are they saying new? What are they saying that's really on the side of the game to teach you something that's spiritual? Because modern science is not going to give you the spiritual aspects of it that the history through the Dogons and other tribes and the Mayans and the Egyptians and the Kemites and everybody else already laid down. All you got to do is go research that old stuff, and it'll come right back to what they're telling you now. And then you can take what they're telling you now and then take it a step further by learning, the laws of Tahuti, the holographic universe, and a whole heap of other stuff, or learning about the pyramids, learning about meditation and getting to know thyself, learning about the chakras. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to tell y'all real quick about this. Let me find it in here. Give me 1 second. I thought I had it highlighted. I might have didn't. You never know. But let's see. I can't find it in a second. I'll just move on. But basically, it was about the aura and how the aura works. Oh, here it is. Boom. Is this it? No, that ain't it. I got so much stuff highlighted. Here it is. Okay. The aspects of reality that we are not seeing, aspects that are beyond even our technological grasp. According to the holographic model, yes, we can access that even in this physical reality. So Pregram, that's another one of the scientists that they got, believes that there may be all kinds out there in the frequency domain that we are not seeing. Things our brains have learned to edit out regularly of our visual reality. He thinks that the mystics have transcendental experiences. What they are really doing is catching a glimpse of the frequency domain. So mystical experience makes sense when we can provide the mathematical formulas that take one back and forth between the ordinary world or an image object domain and the frequency domain. So what he's saying is that even though everything is physical, we still can see some stuff that's technically non-physical, some spiritual side of the game. And this goes and they start talking about the human energy field. They start talking about auras. It says, one mystical phenomenon that appears to involve the ability to see reality's frequency aspects is the aura, or the human energy field. The notion that there is subtle of energy around the human body, a halo-like envelope of light that exists just beyond normal human perception, can be found in many ancient traditions. In India, sacred writings that date back over 5,000 years refer to this life energy as prana. So I don't know if you heard that word before, prana, the breath, right? In China, since the 3rd millennia BC, it has been called qi and is believed to be the energy that flows through the acupuncture meridian system. Kabbalah, a Jewish mystical philosophy that arose in the 6th century BC, calls this vital principle nephesh and teaches that an egg-shaped bubble of iridescence surrounds every human body. In their book, Future Science, writer John White and parapsychologist Stanley Krippner list 97 different cultures that refer to the aura with 97 different names. That shows you how far back this really go. But do modern science ever mention anything about an aura? Nope. When somebody else walks into a room and you can feel their vibe, you can feel their energy, you can feel their what? You can feel their aura. Now, aura can be measured. They have measured emotional frequencies. We understand that the chakra system is what connects us to the spiritual side and the emotional side through our mental constructs, right? So as a man thinketh, that's what he does, right? Or whatever the saying goes. But everything that you think, that thought form is an energy form that comes back to you in a certain type of way. So it's nothing outside of everything is energy. So understanding energy and understanding vibrations and understanding how modern science got everything flipped for you to think it's physical is the problem. You got to understand that it definitely is a metaphysical side of the game, a spiritual side of the game, and we're not even really getting into occult stuff. The occult stuff is when you actually really getting to putting in the work. Right now, we just barely tapping on the door. We just knocking on the door of the information that we about to have taking us to a higher levels, you know? So, with that being said, get the book, The Holographic Universe. Get the Science of the Dogon. And you ain't already got it, go ahead and get the Kybalion. Get you a cool book like this, 30-Second Quantum Theory. I just picked this up just so I could be able to go back and have something to review on what modern science is saying nowadays, And like I said, they want to call it the quantum field, but the quantum field is the Akasha. It's what Nikola Tesla called the ether. And, you got, like I said, you got the 4 elements, the 5 elements, air, water, fire, and earth, but you know, the ether or the spirit is what combines and holds everything together. They want to discount the spiritual aspect of everything. That's why they are so gung-ho on having everybody believe in the Big Bang Theory and having everybody believe in the theory of evolution. But you go to the theory of relativity, when you get all the way to the theory of relativity with Einstein, the reason why they don't tell you about the holographic universe, because as it says in this book, it destroys their whole model. It destroys their whole physical concept of what they want you to believe of who you really are. So if you want to take it to the next level of understanding who you really are, you got to stop dealing with what they saying who you really are. You got to understand this deeper than about a flat earth or a round earth. You got to understand this deeper than the whole of what we would call existence in this physical realm, this 3D realm. So now we got to get into a higher understanding of where our consciousness really lies on the quantum level of what they call it, or on the Akasha field, right? So, go ahead, get your research on, get in the higher levels, get that energy rising, get that kundalini up, whatever it is that you out there doing, whether you're doing your yoga, whether you're reading your books. Well, but the most important thing I would say is to keep meditating, meditate. Keep your positive thoughts, keep your positive energy focused on the grander scale of where you want to be, because visualization is the key. And a book like the Holographic Universe shows you how the visualization actually works. A lot of people want to sit up here and talk about like the laws of attraction. The laws of attraction is nothing but a concept for the people out here who don't know how it works to have a half excuse to be able to say they into some half spiritual stuff, calling it the law of attraction, but not really understanding what these energies and vibrations, these frequencies, and how this stuff really works. You start getting you going deeper and take that laws of attraction and delve deeper and get into the laws of Tahuti, then you will see how the law of attraction is nothing but a construct of all of those previous laws that they put them all together to make the law of attraction, so for it's easy for the masses to be able to have something to hold on to without really doing no research. But the idea is that even if you only dealing with the law of attraction, if you keep negative thoughts out of your vibrational frequency, out of your brain, out of your mind, and you focus on the reality that you want to create yourself, then you will automatically bring in the energies that you need. And it's about learning how to do it better, learning how to do it with more accuracy, more precision, and learning how to take it to the highest level of being able to also manifest, and then also taking things to a spiritual level to where you could be on the other side. Because as I said, in this holographic universe, they get into dreams. They go so deep into the dream aspect. They go real deep. I'm not even about to get into it because it's so much. They go into the LSD tripping stuff and being into the different states of mind, multiple personalities, and how all of this is explained by the holographic universe. This is one of the must reads that you must get, because it puts just about everything in existence into a perspective that can be understood on the level of spirituality, on the occult side of the game. And you are not going to be able to get this information in your standard college class. They're not going to tell you this. They're not going to tell you this in your school that you go to. You know, Miss Brown, Miss Jones, or whoever the teaching your class, they ain't going to tell you this. They going to tell you, you go in there and you start telling them about the holographic universe, guess what you're getting? You're getting the F. But that's because they have a certain agenda that they have to teach you. And even the people that's teaching you that agenda don't even know the agenda behind that agenda, which is to keep you separated from yourself spiritually. So on the intellectual level, this helps to bridge the gap between where you are physically and where you need to go spiritually. Because a lot of times we don't get into the spiritual aspect of ourselves because we don't know how it works. We don't have a true concept on how mentally we literally are creating our reality. We don't have an understanding of how it really works and how we can make it work to our advantage. So if I told you all the time that you was growing up that you ain't gonna be shit, that you ain't gonna be nothing, and like Eddie Kane on the Five Heartbeats, right? You know, right before he got ready to go leave and they went to go on tour, his daddy told him, he say, you ain't gonna be shit, cause I ain't shit. And what Eddie Kane do, he took all of that into his subconscious mind and created a reality for himself that he wasn't gonna be shit. Now at the end of the movie, they had him go back to Jesus and all of that because that's part of the programming that they want to give you for you to think that you need something outside of yourself for you to save yourself. But the whole concept of it is that it's about heart chakra balancing and getting over all of the traumas that your parents and all of them put you over as well, to be able to balance your chakras, get your mind right, get your emotional frequencies together, and start raising your vibration up. Because at the very least, if you're not about to be a better getting to deep into the spirituality side of the game, the least you could be is a better human, you know. So that's why the whole humanitarian thing is so out here like that, because they're trying to convince everybody to be a better human because they want people to try to figure that humanity is all we got. But when you start understanding the deeper aspects, you know that this humanity, this is only a temporary rental of these bodies that we are in for whatever experience, whatever journey, whatever lesson it is that you're supposed to learn individually to take back for the Akashic Records. It's just that simple with me. I just see it in a whole different light, a whole different understanding. And I'm just doing what I do based on the fact that I'm learning all this stuff. Hey, look, this shit dope. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, since I've been learning all of this stuff, man, I ain't had no bad day. People don't even irritate me no more. Since I've been getting into all this, don't nobody even really get me mad. I look at people, I be like, you know what? It's okay, because I understand you just don't fucking know better. You just don't. And the things that you do have nothing to do with me personally. It just has to do with you that you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to just keep doing what I do and I'm going to just ignore you. And the more I do that, the more good stuff come to me. And you get so many people focused on what they baby mama doing, what they baby daddy doing, and who doing this on TV, and what Jay-Z doing in the NFL. And they done lost all focus and all of these distractions and all of this media mind control and got in your way of you being able to actually focus on who you are and building yourself up. And we'll be arguing about all of this irrelevant stuff all day in order to prove what? That we still humans out here? Let's rise to a higher level than that. Let's get into a level of understanding for ourselves that's deeper. That's deeper. I'm talking about deeper than the 6 feet deep that you go get buried in when you going up out of this physical body. Let's get deeper than the what we figure within ourselves. Dig as deep as far as we can to really get to know ourselves. And it starts with meditation. It starts with having a higher understanding. And if you have to go the intellectual route to get a higher understanding, that's what the books are for, you know, because trying to get into a deeper spiritual understanding is deeper than just saying, oh, I'm spiritual now. You got to learn something. And yeah, you look within yourself to be able to get the answers, but you also use the outside information as well. And then you use that. It's a combination of all of that was going to take you to a higher level. Because the more you understand the history, the mystery, then you're able to apply the science, and then you're able to apply it within yourself. So, you know, you get a lot of people out here that just think they doing something because they bought a couple of crystals and, you know, they done lit a couple of candles up, and that's all cool in the game. I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying it goes deeper than that. It goes further than that. It goes to levels that you might not even quite understand. And don't worry, we go get there. We go take it step by step. And because I don't want to lose nobody along the way, that's why we're doing this step by step. Introducing you to the holographic universe, give you some time to be able to wrap that around your head. Let that sink in real good to the point to where now you get an understanding that what the illusion is, or at least an aspect from modern science, taking it further on the Akashic Records side of the game, on the Akasha side of the game, on the metaphysical side of the game, on what creating your reality really is, what this illusion is, an aspect of it. Then now, when we get done with this and we do a couple more concepts, we go into the mythology of it. We go start breaking down Maya. We go start breaking down the the Gnostic Bible and all of those concepts and what they really had to say, what the Kemites had to say, what the Sumerians had to say, and how all of that still lines up, just like it lines up with what the Dogons had to say. Plenty of books out here, whole heaps of books, and I'm building my library one book at a time, and it's gonna be filled up with nothing but knowledge that's hey, it's helping me out, so I'm gonna just give you a little insight on the stuff that I got going on, stuff that I've learned along the way, so that we can keep on building on the higher levels. Like I say, I do these videos, yeah, I do them for you, but I really do this for me. Because the more I learn and research, the better I'm able to explain it. It helps me to be able to internalize it logically so that I can take the next steps spiritually to be able to build up, which everybody got their own path on how they gonna learn all of this stuff. So if what I'm teaching you ain't the way for you, then that's fine. Then I ain't really in here trying to teach you nothing like that anyway. I'm really just more explaining on where I'm at with it on my journey. But if you feel that, hey, you need to go get some information from somewhere else, thumbs up. By all means, go ahead and do it. It's a whole bunch of people out here that can give you different insights on where to go. I recommend that you get as much insight from as many people as possible. Anything that you think is stupid, learn that anyway, just so you can see that it's stupid for real. Anything that you think might be wrong, go learn that anyway, so you can understand what the wrong side of it is. There is no information out here that you shouldn't be saying, let me get into that. And even on the aspect of, I know you might not be into everything, but the more you start looking at different stuff, the more you will see how stuff ties together. And then you might be able to find your niche and what you really want to do and going into your own spiritual journey. You might be a person that want to dive into the telepathic side of the game. You might be wanting to be a person that dive into the dreams aspect. You might be a person that want to, dive into whatever that might be different than somebody else got going on. But if that's your lane, that's your lane. But don't let your lane be so narrow-minded that you don't understand that it all comes together. And that's the whole thing. Everything is energy. Everything is vibrations. It's not nothing that's not touching nothing on the physical or the non-physical side of the game. So we got to get our levels up higher to get that understanding so we can take it steps further. So go ahead out there, be the best you that you can be. I'll be the best me that I can be. And until the next time, peace.